Hey, welcome to another episode of Fetta Facts. So I want to talk to you about the real facts regarding what to expect with some of the stuff you're hearing post-election, right? We're not going to talk about any specific people because YouTube tends to block that, right? But we're going to talk about general stuff. Stay tuned. I usually don't get into this, but I want to. I'll see you in a bit. So I want to talk to you today on Fetta Facts. Again, all facts, no opinions, on what you can expect with a couple of the things that we've heard about, with the election having happened and some of the changes that might occur there. Okay. Now, there was something that Elon Musk said that was very true. There's a video I've seen floating around, and he talks about how no matter what, you're paying tax. And he says that deficit spending is a form of tax. He's saying you're either being taxed through actual income tax and property tax and this and that, or you're being taxed through inflation, right? And this is something that, it's one of the reasons I've never really been into politics, because I've never seen anyone actually approach this or try and fix it. So it's like, no matter who you vote for, the same thing is going to happen in terms of finances, right? But if you think about this, like with a family, you would have your income, you would have your expenses, right? And then you would either have a shortfall or a surplus. Very simple economics there, right? A government organization or a country operates the same way. They're going to have some source of income, right? And so if you think about what is the income source of a government, okay, it's taxes. They don't provide, a sellable service or a product. Like, you're not buying stuff from the government. It's basically taxes. You give a percentage of your income, and that's the income source the government gets, a piece of everybody's income in the country, right? Now, they have this income coming in from one source, which is taxation. That's the main source. Then you've got expenses, right? All the stuff they spend on for the budget, right? We're going to fund this program. We're going to fund that program. And then at the end of this, you either have a shortfall or a surplus. There's money left over, and there's, some savings or reserve, or we can maybe distribute this back out to citizens in the form of a dividend. I would love that, right? Or there's a shortfall. We owe money, right? We spend more than we earn. With the family, when there's a shortfall, what do? We then borrow and go into debt. Right? What does the debt do? The debt adds to the expense, right? And ultimately, down the road, we're still responsible for the balance of that debt if we've just been maintaining the interest cost, right? So this would never work with a family. If I was sitting down with a family and they're like, we decided we're going to change the way we do things. Like, great, let's hear it. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to put up a stronger fence, okay? Because we've been having vagrants and things. We don't want the animals in the yard and this and that. So we're going to put up a stronger fence. I'm like, okay, cool, great. We're going to repaint the walls in our house. Awesome, love that. We're going to start exercising more. Beautiful. These are all really nice things. But if at the end of that conversation, they're not like, we realize that we either need to increase our income or we need to cut down on our expenses so that we have a surplus and not a shortfall, and we start handling this debt problem. Like, if that doesn't come out of the conversation, I'm going to tell them, like, guys, that's great on all this other stuff, but it doesn't matter because you're not going to afford it. You can't afford to put the fence up. You can't afford to eat healthier. You can't afford to go to the gym because you're borrowing money to live. Right? Now, here's what happens in a government. Hey, what's up? Jerry here. I just wanted to give you another reminder. Grab my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. It's going to be one of the best books you have ever read on finance. I can promise you that. You're going to love it. It's also a free offer. So if you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get that now. When we borrow money as a government, the question then becomes, well, who do we borrow it from? Right? Because it's not like there's a credit card. Like, it's not a person. That's where it's different. Who do we borrow the money from? In this instance, we borrow the money from the Federal Reserve Bank, right? Which, it's not federal, it's actually private. It's not a reserve because it has no money. And it's not a traditional bank because you can't go put money in and pull money out, right? So the Federal Reserve Bank is a private organization that loans money to the United States Treasury and charges interest on those loans. Okay? So when the government borrows money, they're creating inflation. They're making things more expensive. They borrow money from a private organization. They then send that money into the economy so that they can ultimately tax that money to raise their income, but they're doing it in a way where their expenses also went up. So we end up with higher prices. We end up with higher taxes. Our dollars buy less, and we have a government that's constantly in debt. And there's only one president in the history of the United States who balanced the budget, eliminated all of our debt, and did not use the Federal Reserve banking system. Okay, and his statues all got pulled down, right? Because it was older times and people didn't agree with the stuff he was doing. He was kind of a hard ass, right? Not the most, probably not the guy you'd want to hang out at Thanksgiving dinner with, but he got a result for the country. If we were to balance our budget, eliminate all of our debt, and no longer use the Federal Reserve banking system, it would be a big change. It would be a very big change, but that would be better for all of us, right? Even if because here's the thing, if you eliminate the debt and then you decide not to borrow, you don't need the Federal Reserve banking system anymore. Just like when my example with the family, if they were to pay off all of their debt and then they said, hey, we're going to become our own bank, we're not going to use credit cards and car loans anymore, does it really matter if they have a relationship with a bank anymore? They have a good credit score? No, because they don't plan to ever do that again. So if we had a surplus and if we had the debt paid off, then why do we need a Federal Reserve Bank? We don't. We wouldn't need that, right? So that's the effective equivalent of having your credit score. It's like, why would you need a credit score? Well, you really don't at that point. It doesn't matter. I don't even know what my credit score is right now, right? I don't care, okay? So that's what I would like to see happen. I don't think that's going to happen, but they've been talking about the Department of Government Efficiency. That is a step in the right direction. That's a big step in the right direction because here's what's going to happen. Either expenses go down or taxes go up. Because the deficit grows and grows and grows. The shortfall grows and grows and grows. The debt grows and grows and grows. And just like with a family, you can only increase income or you can only cut expenses. There's only two ways to handle this. Now, when it's a country based on the fact that increasing income means that the only way they're going to do that is by taxing us, okay, I don't like that idea, right? They could do tariffs with other countries, but that's going to result in higher prices too and still create inflation. So what do they need to do? They need to fire a lot of people. They need to get rid of a lot of departments. And so I'm actually in support of this idea of the Department of Government Efficiency. I think that the government is super inefficient. Yeah, I think that we waste tons of money. And I think if we really looked at what are the bare necessities of a government, the things that they should provide at a federal level, and then what are the things that should be delegated to the state level, and then what are the things that are just up to the individual to do themselves. Next, I don't want to interrupt you too long. I just want to give you a free offer for my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. If you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get the book now. I'm going to let you get back to the video. Okay, because those are three layers. There's very little that the federal government needs to be involved in with all states to say, hey, we're mandating or we're going to govern everyone to do it this way. Very few things that legitimately need that. Okay, most things should happen at the state level. Right? If someone wants that, go live in that state. If someone doesn't want that, go live in that state. That's one of the reasons why we have states. Okay. On top of that, within a state, there are very few things a state government needs to get involved with in people's lives. Okay. If someone can't afford something, that's just tough. That's how life works. Don't give them money. Don't take it from the producers to reward the low producers. Right? Instead, we should be teaching people how do you become more productive so you can afford the things you want. Okay, so I don't live in a state with super high taxes because I don't like the idea that that guy doesn't work as hard, isn't as valuable to society, isn't as creative, and is lazy or whatever the thing is that's wrong with them. And I'm going to end up paying for his stuff now. I don't like that idea. Okay, I'm all in support of let's figure out how to help that guy become productive. I would donate money to that, but I wouldn't donate money to let's make sure he has the things he wants, even though he's not doing what everyone else does normally to afford those things. Right. And here's the thing I'm going to end on. If we were to rein in all the deficit spending, the spending money we don't have and borrowing off of essentially a glorified credit card with our federal banking system, things would be cheaper. Inflation would be lower. Taxes would be lower. It would be easier for us to prosper. So then we wouldn't need to be like, well, the government needs to help me pay for blah. The reason why we think the government needs to help me pay for blah is because the government got involved in the first place. So if they don't get involved, things stay cheap, right? Ronald Reagan, he's got this quote, right? The 9 scariest words you can ever hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And, and I thoroughly agree with that. Okay, I think that there's way too much of this going on both parties, by the way. This is not, one side versus the other. Both sides generally suck. Both sides raise the federal deficit. Both sides have spent more money than we earn. Both sides have raised taxes in the long range. Both sides have increased the size of the debt that we owe as a country. Okay, so I think both sides should be held accountable. And I think that we have, a good solution, hopefully, with this Department of Government Efficiency to say on both sides, we're going to get rid of the things that don't need to be there. We're going to flow more money back to the citizens that live here, right? And I think that that's a very important conversation to have, and one that hasn't been had, needs to be had, because ultimately it's a real solution for a lot of the stuff we deal with. That's all I got for today on this week's Fetta Facts. A little bit of facts on deficit spending. I'll see you next time. Hey, this is Jerry Fetta here. I want to thank you for watching my video, watching my content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to learn more about the blueprint to financial freedom and how you can achieve passive income that exceeds your savings, your expenses, your taxes, your generosity, and build wealth like the top 1%, I want to encourage you, grab a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, or you can click the link in the description of the video here. The copy is free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you, and we'll send you an email with a bunch of great bonus material also for free. Get the book, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on my next content.